the actual research done. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it's perfect.
All right. So, should I begin?
Has sister joined? No, ma'am. Ma'am, we are waiting for sister. Just 2 more minutes. Then we shall start.
No problem. No problem. No problem.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning. Happy to see you.
Good morning, Dr. Sheila. जो अपनी शक्ल दिखा देगा उसको हम recognize कर लेंगे. Otherwise, I just don't like to see blanks over there. You know? It looks like you're talking to your iPad. That's all.
Yes, ma'am, and you don't get that feel. You cannot even respond. Your response.
Yeah, exactly.
Unusual.
Good morning, ma'am. See, I want to ask you. There are 15 pictures that I can see, but there are 44 participants. Now, how do I scroll to see the others?
So I have to go to that screen layout. Press that.
You will have to go to settings. Ma'am, you will have to go to settings, and there you have layout options. 3 dots. Can you see there, up or down somewhere on your screen?
Yes.
I so click on that. Do you get option
language and send feedback?
No, layout option.
No, it just says language. No, only language and send feedback. That's all.
No.
Cinderella, no, ma'am, must have not installed the grid extension. No, then only you can see more people. Otherwise, you will only see 7 or 8.
No, change layout option, ma'am, will get by default.
No, I think you have to have the grid extension. Then only you can see more people. No, there's a change layout option is there. You have to just pull it along that line.
Cinderella, it also depends whether ma'am is on phone or on laptop.
Ma'am on laptop, I feel. Ma'am, are you on laptop?
No, I'm on iPad. Laptop ka camera kaam nahi kar raha. I've been always on my iPad. iPad and phone. That's all. Only 2 things I use.
Very good morning, ma'am.
वो laptops क्या है कि Good morning, Meenal. Hi, how are you? So nice to see you.
Thank you so much. Same here.
Welcome.
Good morning, sister.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Carry on. Please carry on. Begin. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, sister.
You can start.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Yes, sister. Good morning.
Yeah, we will.
Yes. All right.
So I just want to know, most of the students, besides you all and Meenal, the others are all B.Ed students, correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
All right.
Yeah. So we'll begin then, friends. A very good morning to one and all, and a warm welcome to our annual research paper reading session 2020-21, organized by the research cell Pratiti of St. Teresa's Institute of Education. This is Dr. Giselle D'Souza extending a virtual hug to each and every one of you, especially to our resource person for this morning, Professor Dr. Indu Garg, and also to Dr. Meenal Thakur, who will be presenting her research paper a little later. As John Adams beautifully says, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you're a leader. Our resource person for this morning is one such dynamic persona. She is a true visionary in her outlook, a fount of innovative ideas, and has a truly endearing nature. A role model to emulate, an icon of enthusiasm, and an embodiment of simplicity at heart. Friends, on behalf of the management, our principal, Dr. Sister Tanuja Vagmare, our faculty and students of the STIE family, it is my deemed privilege to welcome and introduce Professor Dr. Indu Garg. Ma'am holds to her credit a rich reservoir of research expertise. Ma'am has actually retired as the head of Department of Education, University of Mumbai. She holds a PhD and MPhil in education, as well as an MA degree from the University of Mumbai and a PG diploma Education Management from Nasi Monji Institute of Management Studies, NMIMS, and a PG Diploma in Higher Education from IGNOU. Her teaching experience spans over 25 years. She has 21 years of guiding and conducting research at the PG level and has guided 18 PhDs, 12 MPhils, and 64 MEd candidates who have successfully been awarded their degrees. She has an administrative experience of 7 years as head of the Department of Education. Ma'am has been a member of the Board of Studies, Research and Recognition Committee, and the Board of University Teaching and Research of the University of Mumbai, as well as a member of the Board of Studies in Education and Research and Recognition Committees in SNDT Women's University. Dr. Indu Garg has been a chairperson and member of the local inquiry committees, the interview panel for faculty selection, curriculum development for MEd, PGDME, PGDHE, and a chairperson of the MEd and PGDME and PET examination committees. Ma'am is a member of 3 professional organizations and has chaired conference paper presentations, panel discussions, research paper reading sessions, and was a guest lecturer in YT at the University of Hertfordshire, UK. Dr. Garg has presented papers at the international level at Dubai, UK, Japan, and China, and her area of specialization are teacher education, management of education, higher education, educational psychology, and research methodology. And that is why we would not have made a better choice of resource person this morning. Her area of research is in work culture and leadership in higher education. Her publications include journal articles, 3 chapters in books, and approximately 22 conference papers and 8 articles as co-author. Ma'am has written 2 books, one on teacher education, its concept, knowledge base, and reflective practices, and the second one as a co-author on teachers create magic with ICT. She has been involved in course designing, course writing, and syllabus revision, and has supervised a number of research areas. Friends, apart from these distinguished accolades, which she holds to her credit, it gives me great pride to mention that ma'am has been a member of our college development committee since the past 4 years, and the role she has played to guide and motivate us to take our institution to greater heights is noteworthy. Her enthusiasm is more infectious than the novel coronavirus, and her magnetic personality warms every heart she interacts with. Respected ma'am, if someone asked me to describe you in just 4 words, I'd say you are an inspiration. Here's extending a warm virtual embrace to you, dear ma'am Garg, from all of us on this forum. I now request Professor Dr. Garg to steer the session ahead and address us on the theme educational research. Over to you, dear ma'am.
Thank you very much. Can I request Cinderella to
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I will
because if
share
I
you.
start trying how to share the screen, then it might take me time, but someday I will do it by myself also. So, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is all ears and with minds wide open to be able to absorb what we are going to, talk and interact on. Most of the talking I know I will be doing, but I'm sure you will pen down all your questions when the presentation is going on, and we will definitely have a very interactive question answer session at the end. Or alternatively, if you feel like asking a question in between, I'm sure Cinderella and Dr. Giselle, Dr. Sheila, they will allow it. And I don't mind being questioned in between also, or even at the end. So that's open to how they would want to manage. All right, so educational research. Of course, most of us conduct research when we go on to the postgraduate level. But at the B.Ed level, you all do an action research project, which is, of course, the beginning of how to conduct research, how to conduct rather formal research. So today's lecture will actually, wherever I find that this might go a little bit, or this may not be needed, or this is going, this might not be understandable to some, I might skip it, but otherwise, I think I've just made a very short presentation of about, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 slides, of which one is this introduction and the other one must be the thank you one. But I'll try to take you as simple as possible through this whole process of research and try to make you understand exactly what is educational research. All right. So, Cinderella, we can go to the next. Just to let you know that research cannot be a haphazard activity. Research is actually quite scientific in nature. It has to be done systematically. It has to be conducted logically. And what research is basically a formal application of scientific methods to the whole idea of finding solution to your problems. And that is what exactly research is all about. So you use scientific methods to find a solution to the problem. वैसे तो हम trial and error से भी we can always by trial and error find solutions, but then trial and error is trial and error. You will try, you will make mistakes, again you will try something, you will make mistakes, again you will try something and make mistakes. No, we don't go by that. We will do a systematic scientific method so that we can find solutions to the problems. Now, etymologically, in other words, if you look at the origin of the word or the history of the word formation, research is derived from the French word. I don't know how to pronounce French, but it is recherche. I don't know how it would be pronounced. If someone knows French would be able to do it better. But it is derived from the French word and it simply means to seek again. Seek again, find again. So then let us break up the word research, re and search. Got it? So we need to seek again, we need to find solutions are there. All we are looking at is trying to find out the solution. So problem is there, solutions are there, we are just researching to find the correct solution to our problem using scientific method, not haphazard, not trial and error. Okay, next. So, as I said, research is scientific. It is the application of scientific methods to even develop human thought. It involves reasoning. I'm sure all of you must have learned a little bit about deductive thinking and inductive thinking and inductive deductive thinking. So what basically it means is when we have a general idea about something, maybe a definition, maybe an answer, maybe, and we look for solutions. So we have the general definition, we understand it, but we look at specific examples to arrive logically at a solution. Inductive is many ideas are there, many examples we can see. We try to understand them and then arrive at a general definition of it. And inductive deductive, you can look at examples, you can make a theory, you can again look at examples more and again come down to a definition or a theory or whatever you want to say. So that means deductive, inductive thinking will always use logic. So that means if we are using logic, that means we are using the method of science. And methods of science involve two things. One is empiricism and the other is rationalism. What is empiricism? Very simple. Empirically, you can look at everything. That means whatever you see, whatever observations you as a result of all your observations, whatever the knowledge you gain is empirical. Very simple. So any knowledge you acquire based on the observations you have made is empirical knowledge. And other is the rational knowledge. Now this knowledge is based on reasoning. Again, this will also require logic. Okay, so that is why research becomes a very scientific activity. Next. So one term we understood, what is research? A scientific activity to research, isn't it? But now let us understand what is science. Now, I won't get into the details of science, exactly what it is, but we can look at science from two aspects. One is an approach and other is subject matter. Now, what is the subject matter of science? सब लोग पढ़ते हैं, physics भी पढ़ेंगे, chemistry, biology, all these fall as methods or subject matter of science, isn't it? But when we say science is an approach, in other words, it is a scientific activity. It is how we approach any situation in our life, especially when we are trying to find solution to problems. So our focus is actually going to be on science as an approach. And the primary function of this approach will be to understand and develop a theory. A theory is nothing but a postulate or a, how would I explain? We keep using the word, but when it comes to simplify, it becomes a little difficult. But when we want to come out with a absolute answer, or we say that this is the theory which is going to explain whatever we have researched on. So any explanation which has been arrived and becomes a concrete solution will become a theory. Now, people will read the theory and again start researching on that. One can do that also. So the primary function of science will always be to develop a theory. Another primary function is to test all hypotheses. Hypothesis is nothing but a tentative question that you have in your mind, or a tentative solution that you may think may be, or so you will want to test every hypothesis, and of course it will lead to increase in knowledge. I'll give you an example of this very interesting one. How do you do this? How do you develop a theory? How do you test your hypothesis? How does your knowledge increase? Only when you observe facts and you record them. And you try to see some relationships between all the information, all the facts that you have seen and you have observed. And when you get all these facts with you, you want to test them through experimentation, or you want to see some cause and effect relationship, etc. Now, I'll just give you a very simple example. Suppose somebody loses their keys or doesn't remember where they are. What do? Ye cupboard kholi, open this drawer, open that cupboard, look here, look there, remove all the cushions from the sofa, push your chairs here, dining table, kitchen, everything you put in a haphazard manner, you try to search your keys. But if you sit down, quietly try to remember, now you are hypothesizing. I got up, I had opened my cupboard, I had closed it, and then from there actually I went into the kitchen, and then while leaving the door I may have put it on the peg. That's your routine, what you do. So you are trying to recollect the activities that you went through after losing or after not being able to find or misplacing your keys. And slowly you will realize, when I went to the kitchen, in that kitchen drawer I may have put, and you open that kitchen drawer and you find the key. So what you did was you hypothesized. It might be under the, I may have left at the drawer, I may have left it at the cupboard, I may have left it near the peg where I am supposed to every day hang them, or I may have actually, and one by one, after searching, you eliminate that hypothesis, and then when you remember, it was in your, wherever you left it, and then you find it. So what you do is, instead of doing a haphazard trial and error, either udhar dhondo, you sit down, you logically look at your steps, what you did, how you did, eliminate one by one, jahan aapko wo nahi mili, and finally you come to it, and the whole process will just take you 5-7 minutes. So this just tells that try and remember, go step by step, eliminate one by one wherever you did not find the key, and then finally you will come to the place where you found the key. So instead of acting in a trial and error in a haphazard manner, it is always really cool to sit down and start thinking and hypothesizing and then testing one by one and trying to find the solution. Okay, so this is how you really actually go about. Even in actual research, so simple it is that we actually do only this. Okay, next. So this scientific method is basically followed to determine logical considerations. And you can always come to conclusions by experimentation. You can conduct experiments, you can make observations, you can even have logical arguments. So many of our logical conclusions are drawn, especially the mathematical models, they are all drawn from logical arguments and logical thinking. And of course, any accepted postulate, that means certain assumed existence of facts or whatever, and then, or you may have a combination of experimentation, observation, all whatever you want in varying proportions, and then you try to find solutions to your problems. And this will relate to, again, as I said, empiricism, that means knowledge based on, on observation, and rationalism, that means based on reasoning, based on reasons for your solution. Okay, so this is basically what is the scientific method. Now there are now there are certain steps in scientific method. Very simple they are. I'll just go through them one by one. There are different approaches you can use. That's why I said this is the steps. It can also be this, it can also be this. Okay, so first of all, getting an idea. सबसे पहले तो आपको idea आना चाहिए. Now you all are all teachers. You all will be all going to schools to teach. You will be in the classroom situation. Suddenly some idea strikes you. Oh God, I need to find a solution for this problem. So the idea is there. Then what do you start doing? You start gathering facts. You put together, summarize all the facts, and one by one you have all the facts in front of you. Then you try to find an explanation for the facts. And then of course you test your explanations. Later on when we are doing the educational research, we will go through all this with the help of examples. Also, what we can do is identification and definition of a problem. So first, in a classroom situation, we can identify a problem that is happening in our class. We will specifically define what we need to do. And then we may formulate a hypothesis. In other words, when you said, my keys could be here, my keys could be there, my keys could be, you were doing nothing but hypothesizing. They were tentative solutions, they can be here, they can be here, they can be here, they can be there. And you tried to formulate your hypothesis. And then you started collecting your information. Aapne, drawer bhi dekha. No, you didn't exactly, you just said, this is where I could have gone, this is where I could have, you started thinking about them. And then you started analyzing. Then you said, oh God, finally I was in the kitchen. So maybe there it was. And then you formulate your conclusion, you go there and you find it. So you verify. Now if it is there, fine. If it is not there, then also, have to look at another place and search. So this is basically the middle section is what we actually do in formal research when we conduct. And of course, research always involves observation. Whatever you observe, then you describe your facts, then you try to measure up your facts, and then you accept, and then you may generalize. Okay, whatever I have done today, whatever I have, tested today, or whatever after the measurement, this has been the result, you can generalize that every time this is what is going to happen in my class or among my school students, or it could be among teachers, or it could be, anybody could be a part of your research, and you could be researching on students, you could be researching on teachers, you could be researching even on non-teaching support staff, you could be researching, any situation in your educational setup. Okay, next. But there are some very important principles of or tenets of scientific method. Number one, you always have to be accurate, precise. You always have to be objective. When we say there should be complete objectivity, it means that you should not be influenced by feelings. Emotions nahi aate hain usme. You have to be completely objective, absolutely, basing your information on facts, and you should make observations and then arrive at facts. But your feelings and emotions must not come in. Only then you are an objective person. Skepticism will also be there. Sometimes you may need to suspend your judgment. Sometimes you may have a doubt, but then you need to be, suspending. No, I don't have to doubt right in the beginning. You have to, start sort of critically thinking. No, I cannot be judgmental so soon. Okay, so I cannot have doubts. So that research does not have, you have to suspend your judgments till you are able to arrive only after looking at facts. Okay, and of course, open-mindedness is very, very important in research. Many times we keep testing our hypothesis, we come to a solution, pata chala that solution didn't work. So please be open-minded and try to find another solution. Go through the whole process all over again. Okay, so you need to be very, very open-minded. Next. It's a whole huge long list of characteristics of research. I'll just quickly read them out because I don't think so you really need to, you'll understand as I read it out because we've spoken about it so much already. So research is always directed towards solution of a problem. We don't do research for the sake, we do research for the sake of research to come at theories, to arrive at theories, but then the whole purpose is again to derive something, and because we are in the field of education, we will always do research to find a solution to a problem. Research also helps to develop generalization. So we may do research with 9th standard students, but then we have only done with a select few of 9th standard students. But whatever we do, it should be applicable to all 9th standard students. Okay, the whole population of 9th standard students. Okay, so that means whatever we do as a result of our research, whatever solution we find, we will say that if we apply this solution, it will work with 9th standard students. So it is generalizable. And of course, it also develops principles and theories. That means it arrives at, you will always say that, when Meenal will be presenting her research, you will get more and more examples on this. I'll leave it for that time. All right. Then research is based on observations, observable experience, empirical experience. Nothing based in the hawa, nothing in the air. You have to have the facts in front of you. And accurate observation hona chahiye, and properly it should be described. Research requires gathering data. See, without data, and without, you should never arrive at conclusion. I'll give you a very interesting example. Something happened. A gentleman said, I'm just giving you an example of an airline. Oh, Air India is very bad. Its services are very bad. So we asked, with which airline are you comparing? No, I only traveled once and I said Air India is bad. No, unless there is comparable data, how can you say Air India was bad? How do you know other airline was not worse? So please gather your information correctly. Based on one single sample, you can't say, and that only observation, and you say it is bad. Okay, so unless you have not traveled 5, 6, 7, 8 airlines, and unless you have not compared their services, how can you say this particular airline is bad? Okay, so please gather your data, make accurate observations, and your gathering of data should not be so limited and so small that you start generalizing on the basis of your experience of one sample. So if you take one 9th standard student and you say 9th standard students are always, naughty, they're, 14, 15-year-olds and they are terrible. Well, looking at one or two students, how you can say all 9th standard students are terrible? unless you know you have gathered data from numbers of 9th standard students, how can you say? And you will realize only 50% of them are naughty, 50% are very serious about their 9th standard or their 10th standard studies. Okay, so never base your information on a very small or very less information. You must gather enough data, and accurate and properly observed and collected. Okay, and then you have to use properly, carefully designed procedures. Your scientific method will tell you what procedures you need to use. And of course, it requires a little bit of expertise, and to develop some expertise in you, or to develop some knowledge base in you about research. That is why I'm talking to you. So my job here is actually to let you understand the basic procedure of conducting research. And of course, research requires logical, valid, non-bias and testing. You don't have to be biased. Otherwise, you bring in subjectivity. As I told you, you have to be objective. No feelings, no emotions. Okay? No biases, no prejudices. Absolutely left aside. And then only based on logic, validity, and testing. That is what research is all about. And research, this is one of the very important characteristics of research. And of course, earlier I said it involves a quest for answers, solution to problems. You have to be patient. You cannot have it as a very hurried activity. Please, it's very interesting to note, somebody said, I did a case study. So I asked that person, well, very good, you did a case study. And madam, I did a lot of research on them. I said, then for how long did you study that case? Madam, I went to the school, I studied that student for 1 hour. Zero. You cannot have observations done in a hurry. A whole year of case study, observations, being with the people, being with the students, being with the school, the surroundings, observing the students on the playground, in the classrooms, in the laboratories, everywhere, then you could gather data ki, this is, what the school offers to its 5th standard students, or, but one day, 1 hour you observed and you came back with conclusions, or you think you found solutions? No. Research can never be a hurried activity. It has to be progressing at a pace where you can authenticate that what I have collected information and how I have tested and how I have arrived at the solution, it is explained very well. Of course, then your research is always recorded and very, very carefully. And not only that, you have to then report. साइंस स्टूडेंट्स जर्नल्स लिखते हैं, अपना एक्सपेरिमेंट करते हैं, क्या क्या उसमें कंपोनेंट्स यूज हुए, व्हाट वाज द प्रोसीजर दे फॉलोड, व्हाट वाज द कंक्लूजन ऑफ दैट केमिकल लैब, properly you have to start reporting whatever experiment you have. Okay, and let me tell you finally, students, research requires a lot of courage. ये जितनी आपकी टीचर्स हैं ना आपके कॉलेज में, ऑल योर टीचर एजुकेटर्स, डॉक्टर शीला, डॉक्टर Tanuja, Dr. Giselle, Dr. Cinderella, every one of them, ask them their experience, what they have gone through for doing their research. 2, 3, 4, 5, God knows how many years of hard work they have put in to be able to do research and then to be able to acquire that degree. My student Meenal is there to she will directly let you know what she had to go through. It could never be a hurried activity, and to sustain through that activity you require a lot of courage. And why I call it a courageous activity? Because the interaction between your supervisor for research and you, my God, it can be terrible. I'm sure all of them will vouch for the fact, that at least Meenal can vouch for me that there were moments of, so many of arguments, so much of discussions, so much of repetition of work that needed to be done, so much of, reporting, re-reporting, writing, rewriting, reconducting, going back to the students to collect. Oh, it requires a lot of courage. And let me tell you, everybody, only those who are very, very determined will be able to do their research. Okay, so students, it requires courage. But it is not an impossible activity, let me tell you. It is something that we all do actually. Okay. Okay. Next. So now let us come down to the fact that the general batein ho rahi thi about what is research. It's a scientific activity, and these are the important tenets of scientific method, and these are the characteristics of research. Let us now come down to your area. We are all in the field of education. हम लोग सब आप लोग सब B.Ed कर रहे हो. Only thing is हमने M.Ed M.Phil वगैरह भी कर लिया है, but आप लोग अभी अपना you are doing your B.Ed. Okay, so you are going to get a degree in called Bachelor of Education. So you are actually going to be truly an educationist after this. You will be a teacher, a person who is directly involved in the education of students. And for you, it is important to constantly be conducting research in your classrooms. Then only, let me tell you, students, you will be able to help your students. And a teacher always has to be research minded. She has to find solutions to a number of problems. It could be subject related problems. It could even be student related problems. It could be related to their sports. It could be related to their, psychology or the personal problems. It could be even related to their physical problems. I had a very interesting experience once. I will tell you how I came to a solution to that. But it was very interesting actually. So our research in the education arena could be related to anything. Okay, so again, coming back to, it can be in the field of education, but again, it is a very, very formal, systematic application of scientific method to study educational problems. Okay, very specifically, it could be related to your students, it could be related to your curriculum, it could be related to a syllabus that you're going to teach, it could be related to maybe co-curricular activities that you're conducting in your school, it could be related to anything. But then, if there is a problem, you have to find a solution. And if you need a correct solution, you need to go through the scientific step-by-step approach to finding those solutions. So educational research, the goal is to explain, to predict, and to control. These are again terms that are used when we do experimental methods. Okay, but normally in our classroom, very, very small experiments you could be always doing in your classroom to be able to come up with immediate solutions to the problems. Okay, next. So research begins always when there's a problem. When you find you have a problem, and let me tell you, this problem need not be earth-shaking. You are teaching reading to your students, and you realize at the end of a week or so, okay, some children are still reading very, very badly, or they are not able to read in a flow, and you find that reading is a big problem with your students, and nearly 50%. You are trying to teach fifth standard students, the right way of flow of teaching, reading, and they are not able to read. Now you want to find out, what is the solution to this problem? How am I going to make these students read? So let me tell you, your problem can be as simple as that. It need not be a very earth-shaking situation. My God, I'm teaching numbers and I'm teaching multiplications to these students, and they are not able to understand the concept of carry forward, whatever. And then you say, oh, so many students have not understood, what do I do? So it's a problem that you as a teacher is facing in the classroom. You got to find solutions. So your problem can be a small one you face in the classrooms, and you got to find a solution to this. Now, how am I going to make my students better at reading? How am I going to teach them multiplication? Okay. So simple things like this. But identifying this problem can be very hard. And let me tell you, all your teachers also who tried to find the actual research statement or the research problems that they wanted to research upon must have taken them 6 months to arrive at a proper, statement of how they are going to state their research problem. So it does take time, formal research, but right now in your classroom research, you can easily find identify a problem. And as a teacher, if you look deeply at your students, and if you're very seriously interested in your students, you will try to find a solution. You will identify the problem and work towards finding that solution. So in general, a good research project can be addressing an important question, something that troubles you as a teacher, something that you want to bring about improvement in your students. And of course, then you want to advance knowledge of yourself as well as your students. But basically, you want to know that if my students, I need to help them improve in their reading, this is what I have to do. And then you can share it with others. Okay, if you teach your students reading like this, they will improve. Okay, so you are advancing your own knowledge, you're advancing the knowledge of the students to read, and you're also sharing it with others so that they can also adopt those methods. Okay, fine. Now, whenever we do research, there are two major outcomes. That means whatever research we do, there are two results of that research. Number one, you organize, you develop an organized, scientific, systematic body of knowledge about education, including theories, laws, principles, model. I don't know whether they are learning theories of motivation or they learn, of course, theories of learning, are they learning? The B.Ed students, you might be learning any theory of learning that they Cinderella ji, Giselle ji, if you can tell me, are they learning any theories of learning and all?
Ma'am, theories of learning, I don't know if there is in psychology, in their paper on psychology. Maybe they have it in Serena's paper, not too sure.
Yes, ma'am, they have.
Okay, so anyway, thoda sa to theory of learning, say, okay. So then all your theories of motivation, learning, all that comes in educational psychology. Student can tell me whether they have studied any theory of learning.
Ma'am, yet they have not gone through that course, ma'am. In semester 2, they will be learning that.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I can just give you an example. There is a theory of learning called conditioning. Or there is a theory of learning called, what was the Skinner's theory?
Operant conditioning.
Pardon?
Operant conditioning.
Operant conditioning. Yes. All right. So there is that operant conditioning. So there are many theories of learning. Now, Skinner could have arrived at giving his theory of learning of operant conditioning, or Pavlov came to give you the theory of conditioning only after doing a lot of research. Okay, so after doing observations, after doing your research, when you arrive at organized body of knowledge, that is known as your theory, and a law or a principle, that this is the principle that will help in students learning. Okay, so or help in memorizing, or help in them in motivation, whatever. So the whole idea is to develop organized scientific body of knowledge. And then there is, of course, the second outcome of research will be to improve your educational practices. The one that I talked about, say reading, or even if you want to motivate you realize all your students are very lazy after you come into the class and you find them not paying attention and all. Now, how do you motivate them? There are very many theories to tell you how to motivate your students. So some researchers must have worked on how motivation can be, enhanced, and you will use that theory and apply it in your classroom situation. So in order to improve educational practices, you will want to do research. Now, the first outcome when you want to develop a body of knowledge is actually done through pure research or applied research or action research. Okay. The first outcome is achieved through pure research. And the second outcome to improve educational practices is done through applied as well as action research. But every research involves elements of observation. You have to observe. You have to describe what you have observed. And once you have those descriptions in front of you, you got to do an analysis. Okay. So if you have 50 students and 40 or 50 of them didn't read well, then you got to analyze, You have to first describe that 50% of my class didn't read well, 50% of them read well. Now, why they're not able to, then you will try to analyze your data, you will find information and you will see why they're not reading well or whatever. So, observation bhi karna padega, you will have to describe your data and then you will have to even analyze whatever information that you have. So, these are the research outcomes, and for this, you have to conduct your research, which could be, which will take us to the different types of research. Next. Now, research can be, as we just mentioned in the previous slide, it can be a pure research, it can be applied research, it can also be action research. Okay. We have another, actually there are very many classifications of research, but I've just stuck to these two. Research can also be classified as historical research, descriptive research, and experimental research. Okay, so these are the two types which I have taken for making you understand what is this different types of research that are there. Okay, first I will explain the historical, descriptive, experimental research, and then we'll move on to pure applied and action research. And action research is what I will talk to you a little bit more about. Okay, so just the next slide. So when we say history, what do we understand by history? Study of the past, isn't it? We look at rulers, we look at regimes, we look at, the leaders who led the country, what happened at those particular times. That is all what about history. So that means whatever historical research will do, it will describe what happened, what was. Okay, and that means you got to investigate, record, analyze, and interpret events of the past. So you got to study history, you got to start investigating what happened. So if you want to look at the, maybe the tenure of the British Raj in India, what will you do? You will start investigating, you will start, whatever you have investigated, found, you will start recording it. Whatever record you have in front of you, you will analyze it, and then you say you have to interpret. Okay, so you may come to a conclusion that British rule, if this was bad, but there were many things that were good also that happened during that time. So that kind of an analysis you can continue to do. But you are studying what has already happened, historical research, previous research. Okay, you want to study the tenure of maybe Mrs. Indira Gandhi, you will go back and try to study that in her period of prime ministership, what all did she do? What were the good things that happened? You will collect all data and then you will say, okay, these are the good things she did, these are the wrong things that happened. Okay, but analysis is important, collecting of data is important, recording is important, studying it is very important, and then coming with your, interpretations. But you are going to study the past. What is descriptive research? What is happening? I am teaching a class of 50 9th standard or 5th standard students reading. Okay. Now what will you, currently you are in that class, currently you are in your school, and you will say, that you collect information, you observe your students, you collect your information, you make a note, and then you will say that 50% of my class was not able to read, 50% could read well. Okay, so what are you doing? Studying what is existing right now. You have collected data, you are describing it, you are again recording it, you will analyze, and you will interpret the condition that is existing in the classroom now. Why बच्चे कुछ pronounce नहीं कर पा रहे, you will gradually, you may realize that they cannot hear because there is a train passing by every time you have your reading class, and they cannot repeat or they can understand the pronunciation that was said. You have to find out one by one what is wrong, why are they not able to read or understand or hear or pronounce. You never know what could be the reason, but then you are describing the current condition, the present, what is happening now, and that is what is descriptive research. Okay, describing the present. History is describing, analyzing the past. Descriptive is analyzing and describing and interpreting the present. Okay, and experimental study will be which will describe what will happen in future. And of course, for that you will conduct experiments and you will try to manipulate and control certain conditions, and then you will say, okay, if under these conditions this will always happen. So what will be the future? You will be able to predict that if you realize that your students didn't read well. So what do? You collect. Just a second. So sorry. Experimental research, you conduct your experiment and you predict for the future that in every condition this will happen. Now, just with that same example, when you realize that 50% of your class cannot read, you design a program of reading. This is what I'll help my students how to read. Maybe break up the words, maybe ask them to continuously read, maybe to they may understand, they may read better after a certain practice, or maybe if I make them practice twice, thrice in the class and ask them to practice after school also, whatever. So you're going to conduct an experiment and you develop a reading program for them, and you use this reading program for them, and you realize that they actually improved. So you can always say that if you use this reading program which I developed or which was already existing, students will always definitely improve. So for future, you are predicting that if using this program, they will definitely improve. So by experimentation, you tried it in your class. Maybe you did it a couple of times. Maybe you did with different sets of students also. And then you can always predict that this reading program will help students improve upon their reading. So experiments help you to predict for future, what will happen in the future. Okay, so these are the three very basic types of research: historical, descriptive, and experimental research. And next we come to the other three which I talked about: the pure, applied, and the action research. I don't want you to go through all this because I think I will just tell you that pure research is nothing but basic fundamental research, and mostly it is done in science laboratories. So you need to अब जैसे वायरस पे आजकल बहुत रिसर्च हो रहा है. What are they trying to understand? They are trying to understand the structure of the virus, but nothing else they have done. And they will say that this virus looks very spiky, it has got, whatever. Pure research conducted in the lab, and it is what is going to, they simply describe the virus to you. So most of this pure research is done in the scientific, physical, it is done in the physical sciences and conducted in laboratories. And they will come to a conclusion that coronavirus will always look like this, round thing with spikes like this. That's it. Okay. Now, pure research, they have told you what the virus is like. They have little concern for how you will apply this virus elsewhere, or the knowledge of this virus, how else it is going to help, unless you apply this knowledge. Okay, so pure science, pure research. So all your BSc, MSc graduates and all who do their researches, or those who do their, after MSc maths or MSc physics, or you do your PhD, whatever. Even in your MSc, a lot of research is done which is very pure research. Research for the sake of research, which is conducted mainly in the field of physical sciences and in laboratories. Okay. Now let us see how it can help you in applying this knowledge. Can we just go to the next? So now we come to applied. Okay. Now what is applied knowledge? Structure तो आपने ढूंढ लिया virus का. But now what do you do with that structure? gain this knowledge, then you might want to find out how it will act in the human body. Okay, so that is one example. But basically, coming back to the educational, whatever educational practices are there, you may have a theory, somebody may have done some research, but whatever research, now you want to apply it in your classroom, you want to apply it with your students. So whatever understanding about theory of learning you have, you will now want to use that theory and make your students learn. Okay, of course, emphasis is there on structures, on processes of educational practices, but it is only if it has direct utility for you. So then only you can apply something. So just listening to, lectures or to theoretical explanations or what others have done, no, it may not help. Whatever you know, now you have to apply. Okay. So this will have a direct impact on your educational practice, on your teaching in the classroom. Of course, a lot of, in the educational arena, a lot of research is also done on management and administrative practices. So there also you can apply whatever knowledge you have. But whatever theoretical, say for, if you know the theory of motivation, how to motivate an office staff, you will use that theory and then apply it on the staff and try to, maybe by some incentives or by some recognition, you might want to, but you have to apply your theory of motivation. Okay. So your educational, the whole purpose of this applied research will be to improve upon your educational methods, programs, strategies, try to solve your immediate, specific, practical problems only when you apply whatever knowledge you have. Okay. And the findings are applicable locally, but you cannot say they are still universal unless you keep testing them again and again and again, and a lot of researchers keep doing just that. Okay, so this is what is applied research. Whatever research you know, whatever findings you know, whatever theories you know, you have to now apply them actually, practically. The last type which I'm going to talk about is action research. And students pay attention to this because you will be required to do an action research project, and action research is actually very, very helpful in your immediate teaching and learning conditions in your classrooms. It's very interesting, Action research basically then is a process in which you as teachers, educational practitioners, will examine your own practice, examine your own method very systematically, but you will use the techniques of research. You will go in a logical, in a scientific manner to examine your own practice in your classrooms. And look at the two words that are used, action and research. So please research and then take action in whichever area of concern it is. Not only that, you can test or try out alternatives also. You can keep doing experiments also with your class and your students and keep on trying newer and newer and newer approaches. And you may realize as a PT teacher or a sports teacher that one class per week is not sufficient to develop their physical growth and development. So you ask your principal, unless we don't give them 4-5 hours a week of physical training, how will they grow? You understand? So only after realizing that children are still lethargic when they come next week for a PT class, again so they need to be made to run more, or they need to have more sports, sessions so that they can become more active and all their energies can be let out on the field. So you make a request to the principal, to the administration, that instead of one period of physical exercise and physical training, can we not have 3 or 4 if we want our students to be balanced physically and mentally. Okay. Same way with the children, when I still remember doing in the craft period, very many students would not be able to hold scissors properly and cut. Immediately knives are not given, but scissors were given. So the ability to even hold a scissor आपने हफ्ते में एक बार किया, it didn't help. Next week they were again the same. So you put up a case that can we not have 3 craft periods in a week? So like this, you keep experimenting and you realize that this is what is going to help, and you put forward, and of course you can convince your management to be able to give you more time with all that. Same way, maybe some other subjects might, you might realize that mathematics needs to be done early in the morning. Why? Because the children come fresh, and you realize after lunch, agar aapne maths ka period rakh diya, then it is, they are already lethargic after a nice, good lunch. So you analyze and then you timetable accordingly. Okay. So this will only happen when you are in the classroom, you are experimenting, trying out, observing, gathering information, gathering facts of your immediate concern. And of course, then you try to find a solution, and of course you can suggest to your authorities. But you in the classroom can also do a lot of things on your own. Don't have to keep approaching the authorities off and on. They will always think, isko bahut problems hai, bar bar aati hai. But you can always, in your own setup, use a lot of your creativity to be able to, help your students. Okay. So, research, take action. Research, take action. This is what is very, very important. Okay. Next. So, in your classroom, in your institution, you are finding out the problem. You have found a problem and you are searching for solutions in your own classroom setting, in your own institutional setting. Okay. So that means immediate problem, immediate application. You are not worried about developing a theory or a generalization or a principle or, advocating to the world that this is, no, in your own classroom, you want to take research and do some, take some action. Okay. So immediate problem solving. So it is solving of a problem here and now, very, very local applicability, not universal. You're not going to look at all the teachers of your school, all the divisions, or all other schools in your vicinity, or all schools in Mumbai. No, you're only looking at your own classroom. You're doing some research with your students, improving upon that practice and applying it in your own classroom. So the purpose is mainly to improve your own classroom practices, class management. Very many times you keep saying, keep quiet, children sit down. It will not help you. And then you find a solution how to make these students quiet as soon as I come into the classroom, and you realize the way you walk in, the way you conduct yourself, and the way you keep yourself silent for 2 minutes, it works. Everybody wonders, teacher has come and, immediately they will work. Silence begets silence, noise begets noise. If you keep shouting, screaming, they'll also keep shouting, screaming. If you're quiet and calm, they will also calm down very fast. And this is one of the experiments we did, in the classroom. 2 minutes silence at the beginning and the whole class was quiet. Immediate problem, immediate solution in your classroom, and you could do that. So this is what action research does, but above all, it helps you to research and develop your research ability. It helps you to develop your habits of thinking logically. The key finding thing, because if you are not logical and not thinking correctly, we'll be putting a whole house upside down to find that bunch of keys. No, we need to develop a correct habit of thinking. And then we need to work harmoniously with others, with your students. If you want to share your findings or your solutions in the staff room, you can do it to help, because you are a professional, and in professional spirit you might want to share it with others. No problem at all. So you have to develop research ability, habits of thinking right, logical thinking, harmoniously working, and develop your professional spirit. Okay. Next. So we can say action research is applied research conducted by US teachers, administrators to solve problems. Now, many times principals face problems. Administrative staff gives them problems. maybe timetable could be a problem, maybe allocation of teachers may be a problem. These are all immediate problems teachers, administrators, principals and all are facing. But now if you want to really improve upon your situation, you got to, the problem is there, you got to research, you got to find out, you got to talk, you got to gather information, and then improve upon the practice of managing your support staff or your teachers or the library or whatever, it could be anything. So it's a hands down small scale research conducted in your classrooms. It is decision oriented, बिकॉज आपको डिसीजन लेना है कि मुझे रीडिंग कैसे करानी है, मुझे मल्टीप्लिकेशन कैसे सिखाना है, हाउ डू आई अप्लाई द थियोरी ऑफ लर्निंग, हाउ डू आई मेक देम लर्न बाय हार्ट, और हाउ डू आई मेक देम अंडरस्टैंड एंड लर्न बाय हार्ट, so many things you're concerned with. Okay, you are a practitioner in the class, you are the person who will find the problem, you are the one who will do some research, an experiment or whatever, and find the solution. You are the one who's going to implement it. So you are the real researcher and a practitioner in the classroom who will implement by taking the right decision. Whatever you have found out, please apply it. Take the decision to apply it. Be bold enough, be courageous to try it on your students, your solution, and you will be successful. Okay, so it is concerned with practical issues, problems, concerns, and the needs of teachers and principals. And let me tell you, once you take up a study once, it can become a routine part of your life, of your as a teacher. You will want to improve your classroom practices. You will want to find out the solutions to the problem that you are facing. And you are the one who's going to be dealing with the real world, the real classroom, the real students. We sitting in universities and in ivory towers don't deal directly with students. It is you who is going to go to the classrooms. You are the one who's going to face problems, and you are the ones who are going to find the solutions and implement them. Okay, next. Simple process we already know. Scientific method: identify the problem of your focus area, collect your information, analyze, interpret, and take action. So this is what simply you have to do when you are an action research practitioner. Okay, so with this, I think well, I hope so your concepts have become a little clear, if not all. But I don't know what is my next slide, because I have made number of, I think it should be a thank you. Yeah. All right. So I thank you for listening to me. But now I have a request for next 5 minutes. I'm sure we can take up some questions. If anybody has any doubts, I will be very happy to clarify.
Yes, students, if you have any doubts, please.
I just hope it didn't go. I just hope that some part of it was understood.
Yes, yes, sure, ma'am. Most of it.
All right. So,
the examples that you
please
gave,
feel free to ask.
yeah, the myriad examples that you gave, I'm sure have driven home every concept. So it was crystal clear.
No, I didn't understand the last part. The examples that I gave.
The examples that you gave were so crystal clear that I'm sure they have understood everything.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Yes, ma'am.
No questions from anybody? So when there are no, now we have a lot to think about our approaches towards action research. I'm glad. Start thinking. No problem. And the whole idea is to stimulate your thinking and to stimulate you towards the right process of conducting research. And to encourage you to please, some of you, go in for your post-graduation after this. If you found this research method a little interesting, go for more focused research when you take up postgraduate courses. Here you will be just initiated into the process. Later on, you will actually do research projects and write dissertations and all. So content based, somebody should be able to ask something.
Ma'am, this is their just first encounter with the concept of research. So I'm sure.
I just hope it wasn't heavy. I just hope it wasn't heavy that they wonder कि अब करना चाहिए कि नहीं.
No, no, ma'am, no. With your examples, illustrations, from daily life to academic life, I think they have understood at least, what it is. But definitely when we assist them in the future for their action research, they will be much more confident, I feel. Okay, thanks a lot, ma'am. Big thank you to you for taking out time and being with us today and for sharing your knowledge.
Cindy, one moment.
Yes.
I just want to tell ma'am, I can say that I have understood many things that I have, have my things clarified in my mind, especially this regarding historical research and the difference between historical and descriptive research. Those are small, small areas. So the more we hear, the more we understand. Thank you, ma'am, for it.
Yes. And every time it's a new learning. I don't know, every time you feel, why did how come I missed it earlier? That kind of a feeling keeps coming.
And very nice when you said, past, present, and future. When you talk about historical, descriptive, and experimental, nice, good examples. That's what Giselle and Ma'am Cinderella have said. And I'm sure our children have understood. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. And I'm sure all of our students will definitely be more confident whenever they take up their action research projects in future. And I'm very glad that you have prepared that ground on which they can walk confidently and undertake research in whatever capacity they can.
And Cinderella, you have my presentation. You can share it with anybody, whoever you feel like.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. And thank you for all your examples, so simple daily life, and classroom examples, but they really help to clarify concepts and to understand different concepts related to research so well. We are really very grateful to you. And it was once again a pleasure, a great pleasure, I can say, to listen to you. Every time we listen to you, we really learn a lot from you. So thank you once again, ma'am, for being with us today and for inspiring our students as well as all the staff of STI with your warm words. Thank you very much. Okay, so without much delay, now we will move on to the next session for today, the second half of today's session. And now, as ma'am already said, in this session, one of ma'am's students, Dr. Meenal Thakur, who has done her PhD under ma'am's guidance, will be presenting her research to you. So now ma'am told you a theory about what is research, how to go about it. Now practically what it is, how to go about it, you will hear from ma'am's student. Okay, so she will be presenting her PhD research to you in a few slides. And again, the topic is related to teachers. So I'm sure you can definitely connect with it and you can understand also well what it is. She's going to speak about teacher effectiveness. Okay, so we are trying our best to make it as simple as possible so that you all can understand. So without much delay, I will introduce Dr. Meenal Thakur. Dr. Meenal Thakur has double bachelor degrees and double master's degrees to her credit. She has done BA in Political Science and BA in English Literature, both from Mumbai University. She has also done MA in English Literature and MA in Political Science, again, both from University of Mumbai. Ma'am also has B.Ed and M.Ed degree to her credit. Ma'am has done B.Ed from HJ College of Education and M.Ed from Department of Education, University of Mumbai. And the highest degree one can achieve, that is PhD degree, ma'am has achieved in 2020 from Department of Education, University of Mumbai, under guidance of Dr. Indu Garg ma'am. Okay. Topic of ma'am's PhD thesis was role of mentoring in quarter life crisis, teacher effectiveness and quality of work life, a mixed methods study. Apart from this, some additional qualifications which ma'am has to her credit are Diploma in Journalism and Mass Communication from Somaya Institute of Journalism and Mass Communication. Ma'am also has a diploma in MS Office. Ma'am has taught in different schools and colleges. To name a few: Chandulal Nanavati English School, St. Mary's Junior College, RBT English School, and ma'am has been teaching in SVDD English Medium School from 2006 till date. Ma'am also has 3 international paper publications to her credit. Ma'am Meenal, thank you very much for accepting our kind request and being present here for this today's session and presenting and enlightening our students with your research work. We are really grateful to you. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, and a very good afternoon to all of you. I hope I'm audible enough, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you're
Okay,
audible.
thank you, thank you. I hope if I had sent a PPT and if you can share the PPT. All right. Since this is your first encounter with research, so I'm going to be very, very simple as I can. As ma'am said, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Now, this is actually a paper reading, so wherever possible, I'll explain. Okay. Now, a brief idea you all got as to what is research. Anybody would like to tell me what is research that you have understood from the previous session that we had? If you have understood this, then I think you will be able to understand what is there in the paper today. That what am I going to deal with in my paper reading? So, what is research? Students, especially. Anyone?
Well, kindly answer.
To seek information and to try to learn more about it, and if something is missing, then speak
Okay.
again.
Okay. Very nice. Very good, Srishti. So, yes, research is basically to research, that is to search something again. Okay. And as madam said, we need to have a problem or we need to address a concern. Okay. So, my research had 2 problems. Actually, if I deal with the whole entire PhD thesis, then there were 4 actually. Okay. But for this paper, I have reduced it to 2. Now, I had 2 important topics to study. One is teacher effectiveness, and the second one is quality of work life. Okay. And what did I study in these 2 topics? The relationship. Okay. And therefore, the title of the paper is Relationship between Teacher Effectiveness and Quality of Work Life. If I can ask one question here, what do you think comes under teacher effectiveness, or what are the qualities of an effective teacher? Anybody? You all are going to be future teachers, right? So what qualities do you expect you should have when you enter a class?
The quality of being patient.
Okay, quality of being patient. What else?
Good communication skills.
Good communication skills. Very, very nice. What else?
Empathy.
To bring out the best, somebody has written empathy. Yes, communication skills, a good motivator. Very nice. So these are the qualities that you need in order to be effective. What else do you think can you have if you're presenting say a lesson, or if you're explaining a concept to your children? What qualities do you have then?
Having a positive attitude.
Okay, positive attitude. Somebody has written proper knowledge. Very good. Should have the ability of problem solving and observation. Very nice. Using effective TLM, yes, very good. Okay, so these are certain concepts that are included in teacher effectiveness. Okay, we'll see what is teacher effectiveness little later. Now, my second question, what do you think is quality of work life? Can we have that slide again? Yeah, quality of work life. What is the meaning of quality of work life? Any general notion, anything that you know about quality of work life? What is work life? It's basically, sorry?
The professional life.
Yes, very good. The professional life. Okay. So we are going to talk about the professional life and the quality of your professional life. Okay. So what is basically this paper about? This research deals with the analysis of correlation between teacher effectiveness and quality of your work life or teacher's work life. Okay. It was basically undertaken with the purpose to know the effectiveness of teachers falling in the age group of 23 to 30 years and whether teacher effectiveness is related to their quality of work life. So what have I written here is that I was actually dealing with the teachers falling in the age group of 23 to 30 years, maybe your age group. Okay. And my purpose was to find out if teacher effectiveness is related to the quality of teachers' work life. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, when you study a problem, these problems or the concerns are called as variables. Okay. Now, variables are the components which vary. Okay. That is, variables are certain conditions which an experimenter or the researcher would like to observe and control. Okay. Just to give an example, maybe to observe your teaching style, maybe to observe students' learning style. So these are some of the examples that you can have in your classrooms which are related to variables. Now, variables are of many types, okay? But the broad classification of variables are two types, dependent and independent variable. Now, the problems that I study, teacher effectiveness is an independent variable and quality of work life is a dependent variable. Now, how to decide which one is an independent and dependent variable? Now, if the teacher is effective, then the quality of work life is good. If the teacher is ineffective, the quality of work life is poor. So, quality of work life is dependent on teacher effectiveness. Okay. So, therefore, quality of work life becomes the dependent variable and teacher effectiveness becomes the independent variable. Now, always a researcher would want that the dependent variable should be influenced by independent variable. Okay. Can we have the next slide, please? All right. Now we actually come to what is teacher effectiveness. Okay. Some of you have shared the examples of qualities of being effective teacher. So this is what is teacher effectiveness. Now, it can be defined as teacher's ability of planning and presentation of the task given at hand, her professional commitment, her sense of responsibility, her ways of executing instructions, keeping in view her mental, physical, and emotional health, and her relationship with the educational setup and society. I'll explain this in little detail. Teacher effectiveness means to effectively plan and present any work that is given to you. Okay, it can be your lessons in the classroom, it can be grading of tests, that is taking the papers, it can be recording certain kind of record keeping, it can be assessing students' homework. So any work that is given to you, your year plan, unit plan, lesson plan, all these come under planning and presentation. Okay. Second is your professional commitment. That is how much loyal you are to the institution where you are employed. Okay. And third is your sense of responsibility towards the stakeholders, towards stakeholders as students, towards the institution where you're working, and towards the parents and your seniors and colleagues. Okay. The next is your way of executing instructions, keeping in view your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. The way you present yourself in the classroom, the way you give your lessons in the classroom, the way you deal with the teachers and the students in your classroom, that is all related to teacher effectiveness. And the last that you have is how you share your relationship in your institution and in the society at large. Okay, next slide. Okay, now teacher effectiveness was studied under the following factors or components. Now suppose if I want to gather the data, okay, I need to have a tool. Now tool should contain, that is a scale or a battery or a rating scale, like, so if a questionnaire, okay, so if you are giving a questionnaire to teachers, then the question should be based on certain components. So these were the components that were studied under teacher effectiveness. The first component was planning and preparation, or how do you plan your lesson well before entering into your class. Okay, how are you prepared for the class? That is first thing. Second is classroom management. Sometimes the classroom is very noisy and therefore you are not able to control the classroom. So what are the strategies that you use while giving an interest arresting lesson? Okay, you have prepared so very well, but if the classroom is very noisy, they will not pay attention to your instructions. They will not understand what the chapter is. Or if the classroom is very dull, if there is no interaction, then they will not understand what you are giving. So classroom management and classroom control becomes the other component. Third one is knowledge of subject matter. It is very important that you have the knowledge of the subject that you are teaching in the classroom. Okay, you don't have to prepare only for one lesson, but you should have the knowledge of the entire text of the standard that you are going to teach. Okay. Third is teacher's characteristics. Somebody said patient. Okay, patience and all these are the qualities that come under teacher's characteristics. So you have to present yourself in the best form. And last one that you have is interpersonal relationship. Your relationship with the students, your relationship with your colleagues and your seniors. So these were certain components on which the questionnaire was based. Next slide, please. Okay, so the next that we have is quality of work life. Now, what is this quality of work life? It is a process of organizing one's work in a way in which it ensures physical, social, economic, psychological, and cultural well-being of teachers. So it means that you organize yourself in such a way that you are satisfied with the work that you are doing. Okay, it can be physical, social, economic, or psychological. Now if you have a fight at home and you go and give the lesson in the class, and if somebody is asking some unwanted question, and the moment you listen to that question and you happen to slap that child, that may not work. Okay, so you need to have a balance when you are dealing with your children in the classroom. Okay, then it is a building block on which a satisfying life can be built, meeting the twin goal of enhanced effectiveness of the institution and improved quality of work life of the teachers. So quality of work life settles on two goals. One is your institution should also improve and enhance because you as a full-fledged teacher is working in that institution, and second, you should also improve upon your quality. Okay, next slide please. Okay, so this is what we had under quality of work life. These were the components. So what is the first thing that we had? Fair and adequate compensation. That is the remuneration or the salary that you get also decide your quality of work life. if suppose you are getting very less salary, then you may say इतना ही देते हैं तो इतना ही काम होगा. Okay, so less salary, less satisfaction, and poor quality of work life. Then safe and healthy work condition. Your work environment in your school should be good. Then development of human capacities. You as a teacher should be given opportunity to showcase your talents. Okay. Growth and security. You should always have in a profession vertical mobility and security of job. Then social integration. It again deals with your interaction, your socialization with your colleagues, with your students, and with the seniors. Then constitutionalism, that is the rules and regulations of your institution. Then total life space. What is this total life space? It means that suppose there are certain days when you are overworked, okay, you are given extra work and you feel that you cannot spend time with your family. So how well are you able to balance your work and your family comes under total life space. Then social relevance of work. How socialized you are and what is the importance that you give to your profession in the society. Unless you are proud of your profession, society may not give importance to you. So how much importance is an individual giving to his own profession comes under social relevance of work. Okay, so these were the components that were included to study the quality of work life of teachers. Next slide, please. Okay, so what was the aim of this research? The aim was to study teacher effectiveness and quality of work life of school teachers. And the objective was to ascertain the relationship between teacher effectiveness and quality of work life of school teachers. Okay, so I wanted to find out the relationship between these two variables. Okay, next slide, please. All right. Now, in ma'am's lecture, we heard various types of research. Okay, experimental research, then historical research, and descriptive research. Now, these types of research also have various subtypes. Okay, and mine is a descriptive research. Now, descriptive research has various types like correlational research, causal comparative research, survey research, developmental studies. So my research is basically dealing with relationship between two variables, and therefore it is called as correlational research. Okay. Now, to conduct any research, we need to have a sample. Okay, that is, we need to have units. Sometimes we take students as samples, sometimes we take teachers as samples, sometimes there are administrators as sample in the educational research. Okay, so what is a sample therefore? Suppose if I want to study your class, okay, and I want to study various teaching styles of teachers in your class or student teachers, and there are 100 students in your class, it may not be possible for me to study all those 100 students. So what I'll do, I'll take few students as representatives of your class. Okay, I may take 10 or 20 students and study them. So out of 100, 10 or 20 students become my sample, and the 100 students that you have, they are called as population. Okay, so in my study, I have taken 353 female teachers and 40 male teachers, and overall 393 school teachers as sample. Okay. Now, when you have a sample, you need to get the data from this sample. And so what has to be used as a form of data collection? So you need to have tools. Okay, you need to have questionnaires, or you need to have interview schedules, or you need to have rating scales. So I had used 2 rating scales which were ready-made. Okay, teacher effectiveness scale, which was developed by Ume Kulsum, and quality of work life scale, which was based on Robert Walton's model of quality of work life. Okay, they were basically the questionnaires, and teachers had to rate the questionnaires from disagree to agree. Then when you have the data that is collected, you need to analyze the data. So how to analyze the data? You use some technique of analyzation. And so the technique that I had used was Pearson's product moment coefficient of correlation. Now this also I'll explain in the next slide. Can we have the next one? All right. Now this is the result that I got of the relationship between two variables, teacher effectiveness and quality of work life. Okay. Now these two variables were studied on total sample of 393 school teachers. Okay. And this is the coefficient of correlation, which is denoted as R, and the result was 0.231. Okay. Then this is something called as degree of freedom, and this is something called as level of significance. Now first I'll explain what is the degree of freedom. Now suppose you are having 7 dresses to wear, okay, and you wear those 7 dresses. For you have decided that every day I'm going to wear one dress, colorful dress every day, and till the 6th day you have a choice. Okay, suppose if Monday you decide to wear a white dress, but then you suddenly have a change of mind and you feel that no, I should look very hot, and therefore I'm going to wear red dress. So from white you change to red. So that way you till the 6th day you have the option. Now 7th day you don't have the option to decide over the color of dress. So you are going to wear the dress that you are having. Okay. Same way in research, till 393, okay, that is 391, we have the degree of freedom. And if there are 2 or 3 groups that are studied, then we have degree of freedom as n minus 2. For y'all, where I gave the example of dresses, it will be n minus 1, that is 7 minus 1 will be 6, okay, or you can have 7 minus 6 as 1. Then so here I had 3 groups because I had 4 variables to study. So my degree of freedom was n minus 2. So therefore from 393 I got 391. I hope you have understood this concept. Okay. Now this particular R, the value of R is studied under level of significance. Okay. First we'll interpret the value. How is this interpreted? Now this value of R is interpreted in the range that is given below, and it is measured in degree or extent of relationship. Okay. And so what is the result that I got? My R is positive linear relationship between 2 variables. Now how did I interpret this positive linear relationship? If you see this range, it is from 0.00 to 1. Okay. And these values are positive. You also have negative values which will show an inverse relation. Suppose if we have this first range, okay, 0.01 to 0.20, this shows a negligible relationship. The second one, 0.21 to 0.40 shows a low relationship. And then you have various types, okay, and the degree of relationship that are shown. One being very high, that is 0.81 to 1 is very high relationship. Now what is the value that I got? 0.231. And where this value will fall? It is going to fall in this particular range, 0.21 to 0.40, and therefore the relationship is low. Okay. The best example I can give here is, suppose if you have your class test, okay, and it is of 10 marks. Out of 10, if somebody is scoring say 9.5, okay, you say wow, very scholar, okay. If somebody is scoring say 1, 1.5, so what you will say? She is failing. In research, there is nothing like failing, okay. Even 1 will show some kind of value. it will show some kind of relationship. Okay. Now, if you take say 0.01, it falls in this particular range. Okay. And therefore, there exists a relationship, but this is negligible. Okay. So even if you are scoring say 1 mark in your test, it means that you have attempted the test. Okay. So here it means that it shows some kind of apparent relationship. Whereas for me, the relationship is low. Okay. So 2.31 is a low relationship and it is judged on the level of significance. Now, madam also referred to hypothesis. Okay. Now, level of significance will always tell us whether the hypothesis has to be accepted or it has to be rejected. Now, that is a little, you may not understand that right now because you all have not directly done with a bigger research or a descriptive research. So, here what you need to understand is that this R is significant at 0.01 level, means that there is only 1% chance that there may be no relationship between these two variables, that is between the variable of teacher effectiveness and quality of work life. It means that 99 times out of 100 you are going to get the same result. There's another level of significance also, 0.05, okay, which says that 0.5% chances are there where the relationship between two variables may not exist, okay. But 95 times when you do the research, you are going to get the same kind of result, okay. Can we have the next slide? So this is the interpretation of the result that I got, and therefore it says a significant but low relationship was found between teacher effectiveness and quality of work life of school teachers. Now this low relationship could be because of diversity of learners, that is students come from various background, okay, religious and also socio-economic background. Then time-bound completion of syllabus exercise, that is you have been given a stipulated time period where you have to complete your syllabus and therefore you cannot be effective all the time even if you try to be. And third is probability of teachers' inability to maintain work-life balance. If you are unable to maintain a balance between your work life and your family, then you may not be able to be effective and efficient. So therefore, I conclude teacher effectiveness and quality of work life are related to each other, and in order to improve the effectiveness and also quality of teachers, successful retainment of teachers, you need to have or you need to take certain measures so that the teachers are retained in the profession. Okay. With this, I end my presentation. You can ask any questions if you have. Can we have the last slide? Okay. So that was a thank you slide. Any questions? I hope you've understood the presentation.
Yes, students, if you have any questions or if you want to comment on it
Thank
or
you, Meena.
anything.
I would like to make a comment. I would
Yes,
like to
ma'am.
make
Yes,
a comment first.
yes.
First of all, Meena, thank you for a very, very clear presentation. And it was, I think, made very simple as far as the students were concerned. But just a note to the students that in order to just let you know the truth about what all has gone into the research, even when you want to find out a simple correlation, a lot of statistics is needed, but you needn't get afraid of the detailed interpretations, because that your guide and your research supervisors and all help. Okay. So just the focus can be that there was a relationship, and quality of work life as well as your effectiveness are definitely related. So the better your quality of work life, the better you are as a teacher, or the better you are, the more effective you are, better is your quality of life. So that is what we can actually, in a very simplified way, understand. But I think Meenal just took it to a very, excellently explained and a higher level, so that one could get the grasp of what research is all about.
Thank you so much.
Yes, anyone having any questions? No, any comments you would like to make?
Cinderella, I hope they understood. I wouldn't want to believe that everything went over their heads.
That, ma'am, they should only comment on that. Yes, one or two of you can just reassure ma'am that you have understood at least 80-90% of what was shared. That
Ma'am,
should
we
come from
understood.
you. Yes. Yes. In the chat box also they are
Upasna, all
typing.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. So you wouldn't want to ask Meenal any questions on what she did, how she did, how did she go about?
Okay, thank you. Very
Although I know
informative.
she explained it well.
Ma'am Meenal, you're not just a good researcher, but you're an excellent teacher as well. You made the, you made it
I was
seem
about
so
to say
simple.
that.
You made it seem so simple. And I'm sure that, if you have an audience, I'm sure most of them will be motivated, and you've done a fabulous job. Ma'am Garg, your guidance has been wonderful as always.
Yes,
Lots to
yes.
look up to
Thank you,
you.
thank you.
And Meenal, really very good.
Thank
Fabulously
you.
explained.
Uh,
Thank you.
I have to tell the students one thing. To be effective, you have to be so simple and so simplified, in such a simplified manner. You should be able to explain your concepts that it reaches the students. Only when one understands can one learn better. So simplify your teaching to such an extent that your students understand.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. And I think both of you, ma'am, you and even Dr. Meenal have today demonstrated not only how well you know, but also some qualities of effective teachers. And I also felt that this was kind of demonstration to micro skills also, that how you can illustrate with examples, how you have to present your matter, how you have to, explain so logically. So I really thank both of you for this, for demonstrating these qualities and these skills. This is first-hand experience our students have got directly from two teachers, I must say. Okay, thank you very much. And that's why I think they don't have questions, ma'am. So definitely they have understood the matter well. And there are some comments which are coming in the chat box also for you, ma'am.
Okay,
So
so
you can
I
just...
have
Yes,
a
Meenal.
comment from someone saying that I have heard your name in SPTD. Thank you so much. And I hope that you'll enjoy your B.Ed, and you are going to be an excellent and effective teacher. So best of luck from my side, and thank you for giving me the opportunity for paper presentation here to the principal, and to, of course, my guide, Dr. Garg ma'am. So it was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Dr.
Our
Garg and
pleasure, ma'am.
Meenal, thank you very much. Yes, ma'am, Garg, you made the things very easy for us. You complied to our request. Thank you, and thank you, Meenal, also. It was really very, very simplified. Yes, I'm sure the girls will do a very good job. And thank you, ma'am, Garg. Thank you, Meenal, and thank you, girls, for being so very attentive. Thank you for all the chat box messages that you are giving us, and thank you all the professors also. Ma'am Giselle, Ma'am Cindy, thank you, Cinderella. Thank you very much for taking all the trouble and organizing this session. So thank
Thank you.
you, and
Thank
God
you.
bless each one.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Thank you very
sister.
much, sister.
Thank you, ma'am Garg.
Sister,
Thank
I
you,
think I
Dr.
have been
Garg, and
given...
thank you, ma'am Meenal. Yes,
I have
Cindy,
been
sorry.
given the responsibility to give official vote of thanks. So I
Yes,
hope some points will be there for me also to say.
yes.
All right. So we begin with the official vote of thanks. And it gives me immense pleasure to deliver this note of thanks for this event on behalf of entire STI family. Let me start first by giving glory to the Almighty God for making this event possible and possible with success. I must say that because, ma'am, we were really slogging with university exams coming up and students not being available and they being busy with exams. And this is their last working day. They have just finished their exams on Saturday. And today we kept this session so that they will benefit from this session and they will be, very much confident for their action research. So really, we are really very glad as STI family that we kept this best session for the last, yes, for the last working day of this academic year. Thank you very much, Dr. Garg, for being available for chairing the session as well as taking a session on research methodology. We are really grateful to you for gracing this occasion with your presence and adding to our knowledge as well as our students' knowledge. Thank you very much for this valuable contribution, ma'am. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Meenal Thakur for sharing her research work, her findings with STI family. It was an enlightening experience. You have not only inspired our students to become effective teachers, but you have also shared certain tips to them to become the one. So thank you very much for that. A big thank you to Dr. Sister Tanuja, Principal of STI, for believing in us, for supporting us, and for all the guidance we receive from you whenever we are in need of. It really motivates us to do more, sister. Thank you very much for being that pillar which gives support to all of us every time we are in need of. A big thank you to all our colleagues for their presence and for their support for this particular event. A big thank to Dr. Giselle, who is there on research cell along with me in organizing and in planning this particular event. Thank you, Dr. Giselle, for all your support, all your guidance to make this event possible. And our students, dear students, without you, this event wouldn't have been possible. Thank you very much for being with us physically, mentally, though it is your last working day and I'm sure you must be waiting to finish your exams and be free, but still being with us for this event and giving your valuable comments for today's event. We are really very, very grateful for you. We thank all who are present here for making this morning, which is now turned into afternoon, a sweet memory to carry home. A big thank you to all of you. Students?
One second, Cindy, 1 second. I think we should all say a big thank you to Dr. Cinderella because this research paper reading session was to happen some time ago. It survived many cyclones and storms and finally has taken shape today. So God bless her for taking it through to the finish line, okay? It would not have happened without her. So thank you, Cindy. Yeah, stay blessed.
Thank you to all of us and happy holidays, students. Definitely you have one more session in the afternoon, I feel, before we officially announce your holidays. We will be also sending a feedback form to all of you. Please make sure that by today evening you all fill up feedback form so that, we can work upon our future endeavors, on the basis of what feedback we get from you. Okay, thanks a lot. Sister, would you like to say something to wind up?
Yes, Cindy, did you say something?
Do you want to say something or should we wind up? That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Meenal ma'am. Thank you. So with this, we end this note. Happy holidays to all of you. Okay, enjoy. Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.